Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at some pretty significant market action, specifically the Indian pharma sector. It took quite a hit on Tuesday, July 8th, and, well, our mission today is to understand why, based on recent market developments, and maybe figure out what it could mean for you looking ahead. So let's get right into the immediate impact. The Nifty Pharma Index had dropped almost 1% in early trading, down to around 22,159, and we saw some key stocks really feeling it. Aurobindo Pharma, for instance, down 3%, landing at rupees 1,147.
Yeah, and Lupin too, right? Also down about 3%.
Exactly, down to rupees 1,925. Then you had Dr Reddy's and Zydus Life Sciences, both slipping around 1.6%. Plus, Granules India, Sun Pharma, Cipla, Torrent Pharma. They're all down about 1%. So what could kick this off? What was the main trigger here?
Well, the primary cause, it seems, points pretty directly to renewed fears about U.S. trade tariffs. Based on what we're seeing from market developments, U.S. President Donald Trump sent out letters Monday, July 7th, to about 14 countries, announcing new import tariffs. These are set to kick in from August 1st.
August 1st, okay.
And the word is more letters might be on the way later this month. That news definitely spooked the Indian market, especially pharma.
And that makes sense because, well, here's the really critical connection, isn't it? Something like 30, maybe even 40% of Indian pharma's total revenue comes straight from U.S. exports.
That's right. It's a massive dependency.
So how does that kind of exposure, magnify the reaction to these tariff threats?
Well, if you connect the dots, higher tariffs could really squeeze profit margins for these companies. That's the immediate fear. It makes them less competitive and, could even lead to losing market share over time.
Right.
And the timing makes it even more tense. India and the U.S. have been working on this sort of mini trade deal.
Ah, okay. So the negotiations were already happening.
Exactly.
Okay.
So these tariff letters showing up before any deal is finalized, that's really ramped up the anxiety for Indian exporters. Investors are understandably nervous.
Okay, so that explains the broad downturn. But interestingly, it wasn't across the board, was it? I noticed some companies actually did okay, even traded in the green, like DrReddys Labs, Mankind Pharma, Natco.
Yes, IPCA Labs, Gland Pharma, Abbott India too. They seem to buck the trend.
So there's definitely more to it than just the tariff news hitting everyone equally.
Yeah, and here's a fascinating angle. Some analysts are actually suggesting these tariffs, maybe paradoxically, could end up being a good thing for Indian pharma in the long run.
Really? How so? That seems counterintuitive.
Well, the thinking is the U.S. is trying quite actively to reduce how much it relies on China for pharmaceutical inputs, especially in that CDMO, CMO space.
Contract manufacturing, right?
Right. China's got about an 8% import share there. The argument is that India is really well positioned to pick up some of that slack. Think about India's scale, its generally strong compliance record, and the expanding API base, partly thanks to those PLI incentives.
The production-linked incentives. Okay, I see the logic there. Shifting supply chains away from China towards India. That is a compelling long-term view, a potential silver lining. But are there, immediate risks or counter-arguments, things investors should keep in mind right now?
Oh, definitely. You're right to ask. While that long-term potential is there are absolutely caveats. For one, if there's a renewed push for Buy America, that could really hurt the low-margin generics, which are a big chunk of India's exports.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And, if U.S. regulators decide to get tougher, increase scrutiny, that could also dampen sentiment pretty quickly, regardless of tariffs. So, yeah, the situation is still quite uncertain. Investors are very closely watching those India-U.S. trade talks. The outcome there is really key for the sector's outlook.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean for you, the listener? This recent dip, it really highlights how tightly linked global trade policy and market performance are. It's quite direct. And it leaves us with a question, doesn't it? Could these short-term jitters actually be setting the stage for a longer-term strategic win for Indian pharma globally?
Or will that Buy America push end up being the dominant factor? Something to watch.
And before we sign off, just a quick reminder. We want to make it clear that we are not SEBI-registered financial advisors. If you're considering making any investment decisions, please always consult a certified financial advisor.